All right, hello everybody.
Hello.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in to WebEx number 5 for spring 2017. This is Michael Crossfox, your faithful servant and administrative assistant here at DLIS. I would like to take a minute just to make sure everybody's on the call and you can hear what's going on. Today we're going to have a conversation with alumna Valerie Bove. Valerie is a library media specialist at St. John's Prep, which is a local high school here in Queens. She received her MLS in 2010. She was part of the IMLS cohort number 2. All right, Valerie, I'm just going to read a little bit of your background information here. You are a New York State certified school library media specialist, but your private school doesn't require it. You've told me that you manage a large open access high school library media center and you teach information literacy as well as subject classes, and that you created a museum apprenticeship program as part of which you identify courses, programs, and internships for students, and you help them prepare successful applications to programs. You're also a member of the Academy for Teachers and a member of the New York Metropolitan Library Council. We love Metro. And you've also held fellowships for a number of educational institutions. So I would like to welcome you, Valerie. Thank you for coming in on this rainy day. Valerie is speaking to us live from the DIS office.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. So some of the programs that I've worked on at St. John's Prep are sort of extracurricular. So my basic work is to manage the open access library. We have about 650 students, and the library is open from 7:30 in the morning until 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And students with a free period are able to use the library. So some seniors have a free period. And then all the students use it at lunch to do research and writing. And sometimes teachers bring their classes in. So tomorrow, for example, the Social Studies Department Chair is going to bring her freshman global students in, and I'll help them with online resources, the Gale databases, or actual books, believe it or not. And then we'll use the computers that we have there as well as the stacks, and then I'll pull materials for them as well. So that's just kind of a typical day. I also help the students with vetting sources, and so we'll have some research projects, and I can direct them toward internet sources other than the Gale databases. Like the Gilder Lehrman Foundation has a great database for history, the Library of Congress, etc. So that's the kind of regular everyday work. And then I also teach French.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Now, how long did it take you between graduation and starting your first LIS job?
Well, I actually had the LIS job before I started the graduate program. So I was actually on a trip to Cambodia with the East-West Center in the summer, and then on one of the days I was recovering, the vice principal called me and said, would you be interested in being the librarian? Our current librarian, who also went to St. John's University for her library degree, has found another job. And I said, oh, gosh, it sounds interesting. She said the department chairs, the English department chair and the social studies department chair thought it would be a good fit. And I said, well, can I think about it? And then there was this long pause. And so I took the job, and then the IMLS opportunity came about. So I applied for that. So
now, what was the IMLS cohort? What was the structure of that?
So the St. John's University DLIS got a grant from the Institute of Museum and Library Services to support scholarships and coursework, and then also professional development opportunities for 2 cohorts of students who were going to work serving youth. They were public librarians as well as a lot of school librarians. And so we were there for 2 years and together in a group, and it was fabulous. It was just intense and really, it was intellectually rigorous as well as the workload was also a lot heavy.
Now, did you publish or go to conferences while you were pursuing your MLS?
A group of us went to different conferences. So they had ALA conferences in Chicago, I think, and then I went to the one in Washington, D.C., along with a few others at the end of the program. And then a few of us went to NILA in Albany, and we worked with Dr. Polistino on a presentation called Making the Case, and it was using case studies to solve problems in libraries. So that was great, too, because I'd never presented at a conference. She organized the presentation, and we kind of just participated and then helped with a small group work.
Yeah, I think that format worked well for our students because we still do that. We still engage our students, give them opportunities to present at conferences and encourage them to do so. We're actually having our DLISA, the DLIS Student Association Symposium is coming up in a couple of weeks at the Manhattan campus, and that's just a day of our students and other LIS students from the metropolitan area presenting their research. So I think it's very important that grad students engage and have that level of experience before they head out into the workforce, because that really looks good on a resume.
It does, and it gives you more confidence.
Yeah. Right.
And then I also did some presentations as part of some of the educator programs that I did at different museums. So Gilder Lehrman had a seminar with the Metropolitan Museum of Art around their show on the Civil War. And at the end of the week, long conference, we had to present our work and I was the only librarian there.
Wow. Now, what other any degrees or certifications that you've acquired after your MLS?
I did a certificate course at the New York Public Library in their Tech Connect program in coding.
Nice.
Yeah, and that was free, and I was the only librarian in the program there. But the instruction was super, and we did collaborative work as well. So we had classes every week, and then worked on a group project as well as individual projects, and then we did presentations at the end of that. And they had a graduation in the Schwartzman building in the research building on 42nd Street, Fifth Avenue. So
that's
exciting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, were there any skills or knowledge that you found yourself lacking when you graduated and entered the workforce?
Yeah, I manage the technology in the library, and so I need training on how to deal with hardware and troubleshooting and fixing and purchasing equipment in computers and printers and all sorts of,
So did you get that training from your institution, or did you find other resources?
No, I've just been learning as I go. The Foundation Center, though, foundationcenter.org, that's actually on my list, has a one-day workshop in hardware management, technology for non-technology professionals, I think it was called, or something like that. The Foundation Center, so they have locations across the country, so this is accessible for all students, and then you can look up your zip code here, and you can find out about foundation centers in your area. And then I have another link to GrantSpace, and here you can get training online as well.
Now, tell us a little bit about the resource that you're showing us now, your bookmark aggregator.
Okay, so this is I call it a work course. It's really basic, but the beauty of it is its simplicity. So I can upload or insert a link on this website, and the organization itself updates the information, so I don't have to maintain this, which is for someone who's supervising students, high school students, most of the day. I can't spend a lot of time developing a website or making something that's more complex. And so it's just a bookmarking page, I guess that's the best way to explain it. So I can't demonstrate how I add a link, but it's very simple.
Now, what's the genesis of this? Where did this come from?
Well, when I was in library school, one of the other teachers, one of the other librarians who was in the program who works at a public school, said that she used this. So we looked at Delicious and a lot of other bookmarking pages, but this one seemed to me to be the easiest to maintain, and so that's why I picked it. And then started to develop it. So the kernel of this was developed in library school.
I see. Now, is this something that you refer to? Is it a resource that you find yourself sharing? Do you still work on developing it? Or is it just your central repository? These are my ride or die bookmarks.
I develop it, I manage it, and update it frequently, and I share it with the faculty. So there's a link to this on our school webpage, on the library webpage of the school website, and then I also have it open during the day at school, so if students are looking for internships, I can direct them to this. That's why I put it as the first one, A+ Museum Apprenticeship Program. So this is where they can find out about courses, classes, workshops, internships. We have a lot of students who are enrolling in courses at the Museum of Natural History. They're free. You don't need to apply, really. You just fill out a registration form, and then it's
I did that. Right, I did that when I was in high school. I was very fortunate to have that experience.
Yeah. So, and then I help the students through the process. So sometimes they'll apply for something, and I can help them develop their essays, how to answer their questions a little bit, work on their resumes as well sometimes.
Now, do you use this tool in part of your instruction, your library instruction, or information literacy instruction? Is it kind of a given that these are trusted sources? This is, Mrs. Bove has identified that these are trusted sources. How do you, the real question is, how do you impart information literacy at the high school level?
Okay. So in that case, I do, let's say, when I'm teaching information literacy, it's informally, unless it's a teacher like coming in tomorrow that's going to bring in a whole class. And so then I'll instruct them at the smartboard. I'll show them the different websites, and then we'll look at the sources, evaluate the sources, so they can see that it's coming from the New York Times, or it's coming from Encyclopedia Britannica, or another vetted source. And they know that all of the Novell, the New York databases, the one Novell is, I can't remember what it stands for now. It's the online databases that the state provides, and then we purchase some in addition to that with our state money.
Right.
And so I can show them on the individual database the information that shows that this is authoritative and it's fact-based.
Now, what are the learning outcomes or the learning goals for your instructional purposes? I mean, are you trying to get the students up to a level of college readiness, or are you just meeting state-mandated literacy requirements, if such a thing exists?
Yeah, so I think that we're working more toward that college competency. And so I'm teaching them either MLA style or APA style. And and one of the advantages of using the database is that the references are right there, and all I have to do is copy and paste them, and this helps direct them for the databases rather than to just random Google results.
Right.
Yeah, because they don't know how to reference those.
So you just appeal to their laziness.
Exactly.
Oh, that's smart. That makes a lot of sense. Rather than spend time trying to justify everything and use some bibliographic management software, just say it's a lot easier if you copy and paste from the database.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Yeah, we have, I worked here in the library, University Library, and that level of, just familiarity with research, familiarity with databases, it really was surprising to see people that we, in academia, we consider these young people to be digital natives. And I think, personally, that's such a myth, because especially with our constituency here at St. John's University, where we're dealing with, our Vincentian mission says that we have to serve the poor. And anybody coming into the university as an undergrad is given a laptop. And we don't really take into consideration that might be the first personal computer that they've ever experienced. We have a lot of international students. We go out in the world recruiting people that fit our mission, and then hand them a laptop and say, go. And then they come to the library and they say, I have to complete an assignment using Microsoft Excel, and I've never used Excel before.
Yes.
So I really like hearing, and now, am I correct? I learned when I was younger that St. John's Prep was like a feeder school for St. John's University. Is that true?
Yes, we send a lot of students here, and they have great experiences. We also have a baccalaureate program, or a 5-7-year program, where students can do their senior year of St. John's Prep at St. John's University and then get their degree in a shorter amount of time.
That's great. That's a great partnership.
Yeah. Oh, it is a great partnership. And then we have also Junior Ladies of Charity and the Vincentian Society. So we have a lot of partnerships. There's another one, Changing Faces of Pharmacy. We've had a lot of students do that program here. It's very good relations.
That's good. Well, then we'll come to you. DLS will have to come to you when we start recruiting high school students for our grad program.
Exactly.
Now, in your current role, are you involved in the hiring of any other LIS professionals?
No.
Do you have any assistants? Do you have any support staff?
No, I have library interns.
Are those are high school students?
Yeah, they're seniors, and I convinced them to be library interns when they're juniors.
Nice.
And they're a great team. And my current library intern was just accepted to Brown, so we're really excited for her.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever served on any committees or boards of professional organizations over the last few years?
I was in the Noguchi Teacher Think Tank.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's still going strong. It is a group of high school art teachers, classroom teachers, elementary pre-K, high school, and museum educators. And we got together each year. There's a different theme, and we would brainstorm and bring our students there, and then we would go visit each other's institutions and experiment with ideas about using museums and objects, artifacts, to teach a variety of subjects, including art, but also history or literature. We even did a meditation program in the Noguchi. So it was very expansive, open-ended. So I did that, and then I as part of the some of the programs that I've done, I've maintained relationships with the different institutions. So they might, for example, with the Academy for Teachers, I did a program there at the Museum of Modern Art, and then that was 2 years ago, and then this summer, or last year, and then this summer, I read some of their applications for the current year. And we did that at Japan Society as well. So sometimes there are opportunities to participate in unexpected ways and ongoing ways with the institutions when you do professional development.
Right. Now, in your experience, I know you've worked a lot and you still maintain this museum apprenticeship program. What are some of the connections maybe that some of your students or apprentices have brought to you? Not a lot of people outside of our field ever think of a connection between libraries and museums. They think of one as, I'll be frank, they think of them as two different kinds of boring. Especially younger people. I remember being, dragged around the Metropolitan Museum of Art when I was in school. So do you find from your apprentices when they come back, are they excited about the idea of working in museums or libraries? Are they?
I just had a student who said, this is the most fun I have all week. Talking about the video making program that he's doing at the Jewish Museum right now. He's a junior, and so I'm going to have him next year, and we're going to build on that. A student yesterday came to me and said, don't worry about that letter of recommendation for X museum because I got into the University of Pennsylvania Museum program this summer. And then other students, one student did a program at Princeton in journalism, and then she came back to me, told me about it, and then she pursued journalism. She's doing an internship at, I think, at TOV, at CBS right now. So, and she's in college now. She's at Columbia. So, no, they come back. Another two students are doing a program at MoMA, and they're doing a glass blowing program at Urban Glass in Brooklyn. So it's a combination, Manhattan, Brooklyn, MoMA, and Urban Glass program. Who would ever think in high school you'd be able to learn how to make glass? No, they love it. It's really exciting. And they know now that this is a resource center for them. And I'm getting into now, I just received this for the first time. It's called, I think it's a reference to bread loaf, but it's called Bronx Loaf, and it's a writer's workshop for teens, brand new. So now I'm finding out about a lot of things that are more related to literature as well. So writer's conference.
That's fun. I have a friend who runs a youth empowerment writing conference in Manhattan. It's some of the work that these kids are churning out is really, really remarkable, especially in this political climate. Now, how do you address maybe with these students, there may be issues about, veracity of sources and the idea of fake news. Does that come up in the high school classroom?
No, not for me, but I'm not teaching social studies this year.
Right.
Some of the students were talking a little bit today about this issue of rigging in the election, and we discussed a little bit about the bots that were being sent out by Twitter accounts, or this bot Twitter accounts were set up, but we didn't discuss it much further than that because it was in passing. So I'm sure I will be discussing it with them.
Right. All right. Well, let's see. Maybe are there any questions from our students?
Oh, there's another area that I wish I had learned more about, and I know about this from my previous life. But that's writing grant applications and proposals to foundations, corporations, government agencies, etc.
Excellent. So talk to us about your grant experience.
So before, in my previous life, I worked at the Boston Public Library in their first development office. I had previous grant making experience. I worked at the National Endowment for the Arts, and then I worked at a museum writing grants, and I learned a lot about libraries at that time, and then I went and worked at another in another development office. So I knew a lot about it from hands-on experience, but I didn't have any training in it. It was all from work experience. But then I discovered the Foundation Center, and they have a proposal writing boot camp. And I enrolled in it for April because it's been a long time since I wrote any grants. we had to write one grant as part of our MLS program, and then that was good, but it was a small grant. I need a really big grant. So on the first part of the April vacation, I'll be at the Foundation Center here, and they have them in different locations, and there's also the Grantsmanship Center. But I want to put together a proposal for a new technology center in my library, and so that's going to be a major. It's going to have a large budget, and I need to know how to write a big, a hefty proposal.
Right. We offer, this semester we're offering a grantsmanship course. It's pretty popular. We get a good enrollment every time we offer it. It's a special topic. We're hoping in the near future DLS will add it to the regular roster of electives and make it a numbered course. So there is still a need for it, especially in the climate now where institutions like the IMLS are imperiled by budget cuts and proposed slashes to discretionary spending in the federal government. Do you find that in grant writing, is it an iterative process? Are you changing your methodology every time you go about it? Are there fundamentals that you find work best from both sides, being that you worked for a grant in a grantor and you've been a grantee? What are some of the just pro tips? Give us like 3 things that will get bells rung when writing for grants.
Okay, so one is that it's budget driven. So you have to have a strong budget and then a budget narrative. So those are 1 and 2, I guess, so that every line item in the budget has a justification in the narrative. And then also developing boilerplate for the organization. So you have a case statement for the organization, you have a short history, you have different program descriptions, and then you can pull from each of those depending on the type of proposal that you're doing. So I guess in terms of writing, those are the basics that you would have. And you have to have a strong operating budget.
So just to go back to the boilerplate, it's not enough necessarily to keep going back to your mission statement or your vision statement. No. You're saying just develop another narrative that you can tap into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
You have different resources. And a good, and so the boilerplate would include, so I would look at an application for a big organization that you're interested in, and start with your boilerplate by answering the questions that they have sort of generically, and then you always have that in your goodie bag.
Now, is there any software, like do you use templates? How do you organize the actual grant writing process?
I developed my budgets in Excel and my Word documents, and then I had Microsoft Publishing, I guess, to do my charts. So I would have an organizational chart that I did in one of the Microsoft Charts programs, and then I would have sometimes I would have a funding pyramid. So you have the 90% of the contributions were given by 10% of the people. So I need you could demonstrate that graphically or show that, and I might have a pyramid where I say, okay, so we need 1 donor at the top for 100,000, and then we need 2 donors below that at 50,000 each, and then we need 3 donors, et cetera, down the line until you need at the bottom of the pyramid you need 100 donors at $25 each.
Right.
To meet your goal. So graphic images work really well, and you can just pull those out. So this is our fundraising goal, and this is how we're going to meet it.
Now, what's the if you've had the experience of being rejected for a grant or missing out on a grant, do you find there's any benefit in reapplying, or how do you proceed from there, from this like small defeats?
Great. Well, if you can discuss your proposal with the funding organization after it, sometimes they'll send you a note that analyzes your application. So some of the, and this is also this is a long time ago. That's why I'm going to boot camp next
Right.
week. So, say for example, a state arts council might send you the panelist comments if they have a group of people reviewing your application, edited panelist comments. You can talk. We used to be able to talk with the funder and find out what we could have done differently. And sometimes you have to reapply, and finally you would get the grant. And then sometimes, I remember once that I was working at a school, and we were writing. My executive director wanted me to write a proposal for this foundation, and I said they just don't make foundations to our type of organization. And she said, well, I have a contact there, and I said, gosh, you really don't fit within their guidelines. And so we did the application. I did all that work, and then we were rejected, and they did not get a grant from that foundation ever. So you have to really check to make sure that you fit within their guidelines before you apply.
Absolutely. I mean, there is such a thing as free money that you don't qualify for.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And then you also have the Foundation Center also has the foundation grants online. I can't remember what it's called, but if you can get access to this for free at one of the foundation centers, and then you can also go to places like the New York Public Library, and they have free access to it as well. And so you can look at the 990s for all these organizations, these foundations. You can find out exactly who they funded within the last few years, who's on their board, who the program officer is, and what their budget is, what they actually gave. So it's just a great resource. It's expensive. It's an organization, only a large organization can afford to subscribe.
Okay, so there's a chance that our local libraries may have access to it.
They may.
Well, that's good to know. Is it included in your portal?
I think so. Well, it's definitely a link to the Foundation Center.
Right, the Foundation Center, definitely.
And grant space.
All right, I have to get to a computer so I can see the screen, but do we have any questions from anybody? Maybe drop a question into chat.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, we're going to drum up some interest here. Well, there is interest, but we're going to drum up some questions, hopefully.
Okay.
If anybody, especially if you're currently enrolled in the grantsmanship class, LAS 271, under Professor Zabriskie, now is a chance to ask an accomplished grant applicant for some pro tips and see if maybe you can learn something firsthand. I know that you guys are heading into like your final project phase now.
Oh.
So in the IMLS cohort, you had to apply for a grant with the expectation that you actually had to execute the grant if it was accepted, or was it just a kind of exercise?
Well, I don't think there was I think the intention was that we would apply for something and then implement it, no question. But I don't know if there was any follow-up. I applied for a small grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities, American Library Association, for their Picturing America program, which no longer exists, and we got it. And so we received these large-scale laminated posters of different American art icons, and along with that, some professional development materials. And then the Newark Museum had some conferences for this program, and so I participated in those. And they actually paid us for our time. We developed. We went to the workshop all day. Met with other people who had received the collections, and we had librarians there as well as teachers across the discipline lines. We had guest speakers coming in from national museums and talking to us about the objects that we had in our collections, in our library collections, and then we, some of us returned and then did presentations at the Newark Museum of our lesson plans using the Picturing America posters.
Excellent. All right, let's see. I think there's a question in chat.
Yeah, I'll read it, I guess, because it was mine. So I figured out a better way to redo it. Do you want me to unmute?
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Hi. I had a question. I'm a former teacher as well. It's not something that we really got into when I was in school, but you might have a better understanding. How are you, let me see, how did I word it? How are you approaching information literacy on student-heavy platforms like Facebook and Twitter with the way information is created and shared there?
Oh, okay. So we're not supposed to be using Facebook in the library or the classroom.
Okay.
Yeah. So I haven't addressed that. So I need to do that. And the issue of fake news is really critical too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good thought. What are your thoughts about it?
It's so difficult. I mean, it's one of those things that it's not only kids that are having trouble with it, but you find sometimes adults are having trouble with it as well, and sometimes adults that aren't as technically savvy or well versed in technology that are, you see all the time just either sharing things to Facebook or retweeting things that are, in some ways ludicrous. I mean,
yeah, specious at least.
It's sometimes I see it and I don't know if I have enough time in the day to I guess discredit all the stuff that gets posted, but I wish I did. But I feel like with those mediums, there is a lot of opportunity for students to find valuable information if they're looking in the right place, but it's just so difficult to I guess figure out what's the right place for them to look or what they can trust. So I didn't know if that was something that that your administrators had passed to you to maybe try to to drive their vision to certain places when trying to figure out if it's credible information or if it should hold any weight with them.
Yeah, so I think direction would come either from I think the direction on that would come from the teachers. I think they would approach me.
Yeah.
About that, and I think that's something I'll bring up with some of the teachers as well. Find out how they're getting their information if they're not coming to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe have a little, because I go to the social studies department meetings. This is one of the things I do as a media specialist. I go to different department meetings so that I'm able to find out what's going on in each of the departments and what their needs are. And then also I have random conversations with department chairs and others. So I can just chat with them about that. Our library is at the center of the building, and people have to pass through to get to the other side. They don't have to, but it works out really well because I have lots of random meetings that are fruitful.
Great.
All right. I just noticed that Roseanne Padias, another DLIS alumna, is on the call. Roseanne, can you hear me?
Hi, Roseanne.
Roseanne, are you there? She's in the room, but she's mute and camera off. Well, Roseanne, thank you for coming, for participating in our meeting today. I was going to ask you a follow-up question. Maybe you had some suggestions about information literacy in your role as an adult and youth services librarian at Oceanside, Uniondale, and Freeport. Oh, I see. So let's go to chat then.
This is just maybe saying to you.
Oh, I don't know. All right, well, we'll talk to you later, Rita. Sorry about that. Are there any other questions from the students? Anyone else participating?
Just me and Kat.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. We've hit the 45-minute mark. Thank you so much, Valerie, for your participation, and I'll make sure that we share a link to your wonderful resource. We wish you luck with your grant writing, and the success of your students is something that's obviously very interesting, and wish them luck on our behalf as well.
It was a real pleasure.
Well, thanks again for coming by, and I'm very happy to have the alumni engage with us. I should have mentioned it earlier, but we do grant continuing ed units for participating, so we're going to give you a certificate so that I know you may or may not. Do you have to report as a library media? Yes, as library media, you have to report CEUs, right? You have to engage in continuing ed?
I do, but it's informal because I am not a public school teacher. So I just give a copy of all of my certificates to my vice principal, and they keep them. And then I think this year, actually, I have to start contacting the state to make sure that I maintain my New York State license.
Your certification.
Yes. So thank you.
No, this is part of the reason why we're conducting these things, is to give our alumni an opportunity to earn continuing ed units.
Oh, thank you.
So let me just wrap up with some housekeeping. Thanks again, Valerie, for stopping by. For everybody else on the call and watching the video, today is the 4th of April, 2017. I just want to remind you that we've got coming up on the 22nd of April, Saturday, is the Delissa Symposium at the Manhattan campus. An email went out today. It'll go out in the digest tomorrow, but if you haven't already, please register to present. And if you're not presenting, definitely register to attend. For online students, the link for the WebEx, which will be synchronous, will be made available to you guys. And then, of course, the link to the recording will be made available a few days after the event. We also have happening on the 28th of April, which is a Friday, our Guerrilla Digitization Workshop at the Oakdale campus. That's for professionals in the field. Some of our students who are interested are definitely invited to register for that. It is $30. And we can't waive that because we have to pay the presenters. But other than that, our next webinar is going to be in 2 weeks on the 18th of April. And Kevin, do you know what the subject is, the proposed subject for that? I think it's alternative instruction in academic librarianship or something. Yeah, it's some little esoteric title. All right, well, that's the end of webinar 5. Thanks again, Valerie, and everyone else. We'll be in touch.
Okay, have a great day.
Ciao.
Bye.
Yeah, you're right. Email.
Oh, am I off? I can still see Kevin. Oh, he quit.